one man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
Welcome in, everybody, to the Creed of Crypto. My name is Banana Boy Crypto. I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host Crypto Ewok. We have people pouring into the chat, so welcome into all of you. We got Valiant Low Key, we got Tam already in the house, and a whole lot more pouring in. So I appreciate all of you guys being here with us tonight. Talking about tonight, has the crypto market ever been this boring, like in all of its history, especially since we've had, the launch of Ethereum, DeFi smart contracts, DeFi summer in the last bull cycle. Since we've been at that level of crypto adoption and seen this thing rise to a $3 billion industry, have we had retail this further away is what we've seen over the last, few weeks, few months, obviously. So we're going to get into that and why that might be the case. We do, in the midst of that kind of, I don't want to say bearish talk, but just observation, we do have prices going up, actually, weirdly, for now anyway. We have Bitcoin we'll get to the prices in a minute, but Bitcoin and Ethereum both moving up. We have the PulseChain ecosystem moving up as well. Maybe just a silent little rally here, but hey, remember, just like everybody says on Twitter, all of the mainstream Bitcoin accounts, we will be bottoming in Q4 of this year. That will be the accumulation zone. This is the first year in the 4-year cycle. The new lows will be in Q4 of this year. That's when you want to buy. So don't be buying right now. Wait until then. Stay on script. Everything's going to go exactly like it's always been, just like how 2025 did. So yeah, anyway, so appreciate all you guys being here. Ewok, how are you feeling on this mid-April evening? It is hot. We feel like we're in summertime right now.
Yeah, I'm loving the weather. Love the change in time. More daylight hours, fantastic. It's great for the mental state too. When it's dark by 4 or 5 o'clock p.m., it is depressing. The seasonal depression thing is real, and my body gets charged by sunlight for sure. So I'm happy the weather's gotten nice, and work is still crazy busy. Charts looking pretty good. Like you had said, I think there's some bullishness about what I'm seeing. I still see a lot of Hex Pulse people complaining, but right now charts are not looking so bad. So, and we got a bottom somewhere. So I don't believe that we have to wait till Q4 to see a bottom. I think those people want to keep accumulating and telling people not to buy so they can, is my opinion. So, you watch what they do, not watch what they say.
Yeah, definitely so. And we know who the main few people usually are that are pontificating about that, but we'll see if they're right. Anyway, I think what's been nice, we've talked about this, and we'll get into the Bitcoin and Ethereum, but anybody that is still heavily paying attention to crypto right now, has any remotely aggressive portion of their life savings invested into crypto in some fashion, is definitely here for the long haul, you know what I mean? And really believes in this stuff, because at this point, everybody who's going to leave has really left. As we are talking about today, we've never really had a retail come here whatsoever this cycle. There just hasn't been that kind of fervor, I think, outside of maybe some points in 2024, with some Solana season, all the pump fund scams and stuff like that. But even that, none of it was even remotely like we saw in 2020 and 2021. So, did we just have a bearish cycle, I guess. I mean, it certainly appears that way. I mean, Bitcoin doesn't even do a 2x from its last all-time high. Ethereum does literally nothing, barely even makes an all-time high, and altcoins never do anything. So
Yeah.
very interesting. You know, was it because we were just in a quantitative tightening environment for the duration of that cycle for the first time in a while? Yeah, I think that probably has the most to do with it.
Yeah.
And then also, I mean, you and I have talked about this, I think, in other recent episodes too. But, you know, how much was 2020 and 2021 a unicorn a bit in the way when it comes to liquidity because of the pandemic, obviously, and everybody just getting stimmy checks mailed to them. I mean, we went off of like a crazy, insane cycle to the upward direction to one of the complete opposite, and I think all those things could really be why. I mean,
Sure.
I didn't need to totally launch into this yet, but yeah, what do you think of those concepts before we just check prices here today?
Yeah, I agree completely. I think, 21, 22 was a anomaly, especially with pandemic and stimmy checks and free money, people sitting at home with nothing better to do than a bunch of friends online. And guess what they saw when they were online is a bunch of crypto stuff, people talking about it. It kind of created that fever for everything. So I really think that had a lot to do with it. And then, again, now that the inflation happened so badly during that, that's the price we kind of have to pay. And we're seeing that now with people that just don't have money. They're working their asses off. They don't have time to be online. A lot of people don't. And I think that's why you saw the downturn. But remember, time is our friend. We just have to wait it out. These things are going to go up. All of them are going to go up as they devalue the dollar. The price of these assets will all go up, in my opinion. So it's just a matter of being able to wait it out to get what you want for those. And if you don't sell when you think that it's undervalued, and you wait for a price that you're looking for, I think we're all going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually that's the one thing that we do know. I mean, the one thing that you can take solace in and always come back to when it comes to crypto or, investing in other commodities or anything like that is we know that the value of the dollar is going to continue to go down. No matter who the president is, no matter who's in office, I mean, we're going to continue to kick the can down the road. The dollar is going to inflate more and more and more, and you want to be in assets at all costs, whether that is as conservative as stocks or crypto, across some kind of, you want to be beating inflation in some way, shape, or form. So looking at BTC right now, man, we're having a nice little pump even as we start right now. So we're up over 75K now. I had seen 73, 74 the last few days, but up over 75 at the moment, 75,223. We have ETH right now. I mean, it's really cleared that 2150 hurdle over the last week. And it's put in multiple days over it. So it's definitely closing over that at this point, which is looking pretty strong right now. ETH at 2374 and continuing to look pretty good. Last I saw, its ratio against Bitcoin was about 0.031. So creeping up a little bit there, but starting with Bitcoin, yeah, I mean, this has been a pretty bullish move here. These areas have been significant. I mean, really, you look back at what's happened this year so far. February, correct me if I'm wrong, we'll see on the chart there, but that's when we had the big capitulation wicks down. I remember it. I think it was mainly a Saturday. We saw it fall into the 70s, get into the 60s, ultimately wicking down to like 58K. Still, and this is what people usually do. I'm not claiming I'm going to be right. I'm just saying if a bottom would be in already. I'm not saying that it is, but if one is, so many people want to, there's so little gray area. Most people will not just try to look at a market objectively. They want to beat their chest and that's the engagement thing. You have to say something in black and white to get attention, whether it is the bottom's in at 58K, I called it, or we're going to lows 35K in October of 2026 or whatever. That's what people want to do. But right now, I mean, the people, for anybody that's, completely out of the market and assuming that we're going lower, I think it's again, I could be wrong, but I think being completely out is probably not valuing it right. I think there's at least a chance that we've already, bottomed at this point, especially considering the fact, everything we said at the top here, Bitcoin didn't even do a 2x from its previous all-time high. We did not see some kind of euphoria top this time. So it would be funny. It would be amusing if we already bottomed here and then gradually started to go up as we get into 2027. Could be totally wrong, but yeah, I mean, a case could be made. So what do you make of this price action right here, you walk, and where we're going?
Well, as I mentioned last week, we want to make sure that we're seeing higher lows, right? Or higher highs, I should say. And we are seeing higher lows as well. So this trend is still holding true. We did eclipse this previous higher high barely, but it doesn't mean it's over yet. So I feel like that is at least a good sign for now. Before it pulls back, maybe does hit this trend line again. But I think we're in a channel right now. I really think this is a channel. Could this have been the bottom? Well, so far it's looking that way, and I think it would really take a lot of people by surprise if it were, because like you said, the mainstreamers are still calling for 35 40K whatever as a bottom. So currently our little trend is holding up. We did make a bit of a higher high, not much. Now when I look at Ethereum, it's actually looking stronger, stronger than Bitcoin, because it eclipsed it that same range there by a little bit more anyway. And like you said, we'll take a look at the ratio here. This trend is looking mighty good, actually. It's been trending upwards ever since February in a very positive direction, without much pullback. I mean, there's been some crazy wicks, but they come back to the same spot, so it's not really falling much. This trend is more consistent, I would say.
Yeah, it's pretty smooth, straight up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm liking what I see. With both Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let's take a look at the gold price, because I know we've been looking at that, and you see a very similar climb out here as well. So things are looking like they're headed in the right direction. I mean, they have had some corrections, some pullback, and it looks more consistent than just a fake out. You know what I mean? At this point, fake outs don't usually last quite this long. So, again, this has been since February. You've got almost all of February, because this was February 5th. So all of February, all of March. Now we're halfway through April, and we're still, climbing. So let's see how November through. Yeah, this one was 2 months too before it pulled back. So I don't know. I mean, again, this one looks a lot stronger than this one did.
Yeah, it does.
Back here. It just, there's more structure to it. This one was just kind of all over the place and very, very choppy. This one has definite run-ups and pullbacks. They're pretty clear, and they're consistently hitting trend lines. They keep going up, coming back, up, back, but a little bit higher each time. These were not really like that. They were just kind of all over the place. So we shall see. But for now, it is looking good. Again, if we can get through this past level here of about 75.7 and stay above it, that'll be our bullish signal that this one's going to run up a little higher. Again, we could still have a pullback, but it may not come the whole way down to this level. So something to keep an eye on.
I do agree with you. I think this recent move since February does look way more consistent than what we saw from last fall there. So, and it would also make sense that at this point, that we would start to see a recovery. I mean, we've gone this whole year without really seeing a recovery. I mean, many people thought that after the what you see on the chart there from late 2025, that we would have seen a recovery in January. We got absolutely the opposite. We got slaughtered yet again, and most people are calling for the slaughtering to just continue and continue and continue. Which that's usually what happens. It happens at both ends. With a bull market, it's like, well, we're going on forever. Hell no, I'm not selling now. That's how people get trapped at tops, and at bottoms people miss the bottom because you don't want to catch a falling knife, and then you wait and you wait and you wait. I mean, look at Crypto Capo and famously with the last bear market. I mean, he basically faded the whole move up from 15K to 45K for Bitcoin as it got back into a bull market until he got off Twitter and started his own private group and stuff like that. I don't know. Became a famous counter signal, but yeah, I mean, that's just kind of using him as the, catalyst for how people think. Yeah.
Well, he couldn't make money trading because he was so bearish, so he had to create a private group to charge them to make money. That's what a lot of these guys do when they don't really know what they're talking about. So they create a private group and tell people, half people one thing, half people the other thing, and they, half of them are right. So
yeah, keep that in mind. I mean, it's not to say that anybody creating a group that's chargeable is necessarily nefarious. I think it's probably true that they are most times, though. And keep in mind how much money they're making from that, because how important are their calls really? You know what I mean? If they're getting paid that way. Did you want to, because to continue and kind of just talk about this a little bit longer term, do you mind pulling up that Bob Lucas sentiment check that he did the other day?
Oh, I suppose.
I know you love him. But I think that Bob Lucas is one of those guys. So when we sit here talking about the mainstream larger crypto accounts, I mean, he's one of them. I mean, that's usually somebody that's within our conversation. So I think that this poll that he ran is probably a good sentiment gauge, whereas like sometimes Sami will do a sentiment gauge and I'm like, well, most people replying to this is going to be bullish because they're just perma bulls and whatever. With Bob Lucas, I started to think about that. I'm like, well, maybe most people will be bearish because that's where he's at. I think this is interesting. Yeah, he has sentiment check. He says in 6 months, this is just from 2 days ago. Yeah. In 6 months, Bitcoin will be higher or lower, simply. And I love a simple pool. So many people have to make all these goddamn options. And then they have one that says see results. Give me 2 results. Yes, no. Give me the answer. I love that. So kudos to Bob on that. Lower wins at 52.8%. Higher 47.2%. So pretty split, but falling on the bearish side. I think this is a really good sign. That's about 3,000 votes. Yeah, to your point, which is good to see too. So it's a good sample size. And I will say it's not like Bob Lucas is this really niche guy. He has everybody following him. Whether it's like Bitcoin maxis, altcoin accounts follow him. So I don't know. I think this is probably a pretty good gauge of where the people that are within this market right now, clearly, I mean, otherwise they wouldn't be voting on it. And we know retail's not here. I think this is probably a good example of where people are thinking right now. And I think it's a good sign. I mean, being it split, I mean, you could still come away thinking, I have no idea what's going to happen. But it is mainly bearish. And I'd rather see that than delusional. I mean, if this came out 70-30 higher, I would have been absolutely shocked. And you have people out there. I mean, there are other big accounts like this that are saying things like, well, I don't know. I look at my whole timeline. Everybody's bullish. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I have no clue what you mean by that. And I think that this poll is likely pretty accurate for where we're at sentiment wise. But yeah, what do you make of that, Ewok?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty split down the middle. I think people just don't know. I mean, that's kind of what I'm taking from this is people are kind of like, yeah, don't know. Could go higher, could go lower. I mean, there's really nothing definitive here with this, which is kind of good. People aren't sure, and the uncertainty is a big part of this, and that's one of the deciding factors of when it's time to run. So I mean, I take this as a good sign. That people are just very, very unsure, and it's very equal on both sides. I mean, it's as close as it could be with 3,000 people. I think you have a little bit bearish outweighing it, but not by much. So yeah, no, I think this is good. I think this is it's still choppy, but usually when things start to run up and we get out of it, we don't realize it for a little while and say, wow, that really was the bottom, and that's kind of how these things work. It's not like, okay, we bottomed and it's hardly ever a perfect V bottom where it goes down and then boom, right back up and takes off and stays that way. So yeah, very, very rarely do we see that. And, it's a couple months before people realize that really was it. And here we go. So, that's why people miss the bottom. and so
Yeah.
many people miss the bottom and don't get to capture on it because it's not clear until much later. So
sorry about that. And what do you make kind of what we said at the beginning? I mean, the fact that, again, this pat, whatever, if we're still talking about cycles, 4-year cycles, the past few years was a bearish period of time and what usually is a bullish period of time. So I don't know. What do you make of that, Ewok? I mean, is it just cope at this point to be like, oh, yeah, like 27, 28, 29, that's when the real explosion happens. And it's like, yeah, I keep saying that. You were saying it in 24 and 25. But I mean, to me, it kind of stands to reason. I mean, we saw this was the first time in Ethereum's existence that it did nothing in relation to Bitcoin, and did not make a new all-time high in a bullish cycle. Altcoins, the same thing. And I don't buy in any way like the dilution and blah, blah, blah. I mean, Ethereum is still Ethereum. It's not Ethereum didn't get diluted by a bunch of stuff. I don't think that that's the case. I think people just have not had money. That just makes the most sense to me. And I personally, and I'm looking at it, I feel as objectively as possible, not over leveraged at this point anymore, trying to distance myself from the market even. I just don't feel that this stuff is never going to come back again. I know you and I differ on this. I don't think we're going to see something like 2020 and 2021 again necessarily, but I refuse to believe that like, oh yeah, that was the crypto dream. It's over. Nobody gives a shit about it anymore. I mean, yeah, it looks that way right now, certainly. I just refuse to believe that. I just don't think like, oh yeah, this stuff's never coming back and it's only Bitcoin. I don't
I don't buy it either. And we did see, and we had been calling it for a while, that there was major manipulation happening. There were people that were trying to suppress it for some reason or another, whether it was accumulation on their part, whether it was bad entities that didn't want to see it succeed, and they were OTC purchasing and then market selling to keep the price down. And I think that's what was happening. And when they got called out, we noticed that it's kind of stopped. Are they back at it in a different way? Or, it's that time of market, obviously, where you're not going to see crazy things. And again, we never saw the retail come in. So for those reasons, and I believe the reason retail didn't come is because there weren't ever crazy green candles. That's when people come in, when everybody's talking about it, when the charts are going parabolic, things like that draw the retail in, and we never had that. So that's, I believe, one of the reasons why retail never came in, and another reason that Ethereum didn't really pop off. So it just never got to that excitement level. So do I think we have to wait till 28, 29, 27, 28? I don't think so. This is new territory, obviously, because of the way this last one panned out, because of the QT and the regular markets in general, because we had a president who was pro crypto and everybody's trying to fight him on everything he does. There's that. I mean, there's so many things that are kind of going against us at the moment. But that'll all play out. It'll all shake out in the long run. I don't think we'll have to wait a 4-year cycle. I still see bullish things happening by the end of this year. Not a bottom. I don't think we're waiting till Q4 for a bottom. I think we're going to see positive things before that. So,
yeah, it's the most divisive time I've ever seen as far as like the opinions. Like it absolutely, like everybody thinks they know what's going on. They're pretending that they've called all these things and stuff. And I just think that, we've just been on a different paradigm, and nobody ever knows exactly what's going to happen. But everybody that's following these exact scripts and things like that, or this indicator, that indicator. I mean, indicators are all great until they don't work anymore. It's like having an edge in anything. Like, yeah, you have one for a while until somebody else adapts, and then you don't have an edge anymore. So, yeah, we've seen that adapting. And now the next thing that, altcoin holders have realized has jived with altcoins going up has been like the positive business ISM PMI ratings, which have been great the last 3 months. Is that going to be the next one that no longer correlates to things turning around? I don't know, but people are really willing to dunk on us for thinking that.
And speaking of indicators, let's take a look at one of the ones that had been right every indicator of a top, and it's the pi cycle indicator. It made the 4 tops that we have seen: 13, 14, 18.
You're not sharing it, by the way. It's not sharing right now.
It's not?
I don't see it anyway. I see you in the green room have it. There we go. You got it now.
So, all right, let me go back. Yeah. So every time that these lines intersect, we had a top each one, and we didn't see that this cycle at all. It never actually even got close.
Right.
So the closest we were was probably May of 2024, where these lines got somewhat close, but not really. So speaking of indicators that were right until they weren't, this one claims that we still haven't seen it. So there's a prime example, just backing up what you were saying. They're right until they're not,
or it's just broken also. Yeah, one or the other. It's either we haven't seen it yet, so that means we're going to go back up, or it's broken.
Exactly. And I like the it's not broken. It's just we haven't seen it quite yet.
I hope. So I'm with you. I would rather it be that, but who knows? So
we would all rather that, but it is what it is, and like you said, these work till they don't. So there is that possibility as well.
Yep. Good stuff. It is fascinating. I think the more that you can, de-risk a little bit, and, since these last few years have not gone the way many of us expected, if you need to start investing in safer things while you're still investing a little bit in crypto on the side and not leaving or anything, I think you have to keep yourself sane at this point, because we've all, been through quite a ride here over the last 4 or 5 years in crypto if you're holding Ethereum and anything on down. So if you guys are enjoying the stream so far, do us a favor, hit the like button. We appreciate you being here, supporting PulseChain. We do this every Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Speaking of PulseChain, let's get into the ecosystem, where we have seen a little bit of a move up for most of the core tokens. It's been a very wild week price-wise, actually. We saw ProveX maybe finding its bottom here over a week ago, and it really started to move up. And then after it did that, we started to see the rest of the core tokens start to move up, and ProveX actually pull back a little bit. So very interesting to see, especially since the liquidity bonding we know is basically polar opposite between ProveX and then the rest of the tokens. But looking at where we are at with prices right now, we have Pulse. That's quite a move up. I mean, we've got to be, I got to imagine that's probably at least 30 to 40% off of the all-time low at this point. I mean, we're at 50865. We've got PulseX at 50669. Inc at almost 40 cents. We have Hex at 1.57, eHex at 000729, and then ProveX again last few days a little bit of a pullback again at 40756. So even the man himself, RH, did post about the prices the other day, which we know what that typically means for where they're going the next few days, but that hasn't happened yet. Hint, go down is what I'm talking about. We've seen them be a little bit resilient here and move up with the rest of the market. So some positive action for once in a while. I think once we get to the Pulse chart, we'll see that we're clearly probably not out of the woods yet. But you're looking at the fear and greed right now. That's interesting. What do you make of that, Ewok?
Yeah, well, the fact that it's over 50, it's 55. I mean, the past several weeks, it has slowly crept up. We're at 55 out of 100, still showing 35 on the altcoin season. So, still somewhat more on Bitcoin season than moving over here. But I find this interesting. Like I said, still have a lot of negative cry-fagging sentiment out there, and the fear and greed isn't showing that. So you know, I just find that odd. That's all. What to make of it? Not really sure. Maybe we'll start to see a little bit more positive sentiment on the X crypto. We'll have to kind of see how that plays out. But I just find this interesting. I still feel like there's a lot of people that are still very negative that are out there, but yet this is not quite showing that. So keep an eye on that.
Yeah, you're always going to have those people. We know who they are, and the two main ones, their first and last name. There's alliteration in it actually, which is interesting. But yeah, if you're out there writing essays still about this and that, like, why didn't you just sell? Please just sell. I don't understand. Like, if you're going to write essays and stuff, like, be a man, accept and own what it is you've done. Things have not gone the way you wanted them to. It's nobody else's fault. And pivot, whatever that means for you. But no, instead they're going to just keep holding and bitching about it. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But
well, and people really need to get over the fact that they really, really expect sacrifice funds to be used to pump the chain when we clearly saw that it was tried. And every time that it happened, it was immediately sold back down. Why would you want to just do that? Like, it doesn't make sense to me why you would keep trying that when it wasn't working. So you retain that value and do it at a later time, or not. But I mean, they want them to keep pumping things that just it's the timing's not right. So why they can't see that, I'm just not certain. But you know, they feel that they're owed something back, and clearly they aren't, and they have way more expectations out of somebody than they should. So you know,
if you
get over that.
Yeah, if you think about, if you're a business owner or an entity that has tried to put money into the chain, you'd be foolish to continue doing that. It's stupid. I mean, you see how many negative externalities there are that, sacrifice for. We've talked ad nauseum about the PulseChain and PulseX sacrifices and how large they were. And it's not just that. That's part of it. Again, you have Ethereum not barely making a new all-time high. You have quantitative tightening, all these things. You're not going to inject money into an ecosystem whenever the wind is not at your sails. I would have taken the exact same approach. I do understand it. I'm not saying it's been easy. Like, I mean, you and I have suffered, with this stuff. I mean, who hasn't that's been invested in? I think that's what's so irritating about it is it's like, hey, newsflash, man, we've all been here with you. You're not all writing essays too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's those people's battles they're going to have to pick with themselves. Also, PDI. I did not mention it, but PDI has been moving up quite well recently. We have it at 2 zeros and a 2-2 right now, which is pretty insane. 36% up in the last day, 100%, 2x in a week. I didn't realize that. So,
yes,
very, very interesting there. That will be all that we talk about it. I do not want to get in trouble. So that is where we are at. What do you want to look at the pulse chart, or where do you want to take it here? Because I just feel like we should look at least the pulse chart. And
yeah, for sure. You don't want to get in trouble from who? From me?
Well, we've got you. We've got Richard says it's literal trash, and I usually take the party line when it comes to that stuff. So I bet somehow it's not literal trash to some people whenever the price starts going up even more. But
well, one of the things you have to.
Go ahead.
What? Well, one of the things that we have to keep in mind is I do believe the protocol to exploit it has been taken out of the equation. So I believe that's a good thing. At least people aren't inflating it and dumping it. I think that has been fixed. So that is a bonus at this point. But yeah,
we'll get to that because I think Alex McWhorter's post, he sounds almost bullish on PDI, but we'll get to that.
I don't know if he's bullish, but we'll get there. All right, so let's take a look here. When you zoom into here, we're looking okay, right? I mean, if you zoom out and look at the big picture, it's kind of terrible. But we have made it through our friendly little trend line. and it's not pulling back. So that is something, very, very good to see. I do like the looks of that. Now, if we can cross it and use that as resistance, that'll be the next step of saying, all right, guys, I think something's happening here. But in the meantime, yes, this is looking quite nice.
Yeah, it's a nice move up. Yeah, we're absolutely not out of the woods, but I mean, what are the next levels you're looking at? Because to me, I mean, it looks like you want to get back up to,
Well,
there, yeah,
yeah, 4 zeros and a 1 is where we definitely need to get into that range. Anywhere in this area here to see what kind of resistance we're gonna, run into at these levels. The last time it ran up, and the last high, I would say, was that 4 zeros 1 1 ish area. So it did run into some problems there. If we can get at least up into that area again, we may see a little pullback. But what I would like to see is it bounce off of this resistance, and or use the previous resistance as support. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And yeah, I think the next target should be in this area, the 4 zeros and a 1 area. I think you could get some more eyes on it at that point. But yeah, let's take it day by day here, and hopefully, like I said, turn this resistance into support first, before we get another move up. That just means that the majority of the sellers are becoming exhausted, or people just aren't willing to part with what they have at this point. So that's what the next level that I'm looking for.
Obviously, with this price action, there's people out there saying the PulseChain bottom is in. What are the chances that the PulseChain bottom is in? Looking at this right now, Ewok, I mean, it is a nice, strong move, but yeah, what is your opinion about that?
Well, I like the rounded bottoms. So
I do love rounded bottoms. Yeah,
gotta love a good rounded bottom, and this one, structurally looks pretty good. Do I think it? I think there's a very, very good possibility that we have seen the worst of it. I mean, it was bad. There was several people that were defending certain levels consistently. 1, 2, 3, 4, several days in this area that was being well defended. And currently it looks like that possibly was it there. So again, it's a matter of we shall see. But again, I think the next important part here is to get above this line, stay above it, and even if it does pull back, turn this into support. That will be very, very bullish in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. It's good to see either way. I mean, I know a lot of people, obviously, you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's going so much lower. It's going to add another zero, yada, yada, yada. We will see. I mean, it's kind of, honestly, my opinion of it is kind of the same as the rest of the market. I mean, like, how much are you willing to bet that we've seen the bottom or not on some of these things? You know what I mean? I think to be completely out waiting for a new one is probably not the best idea, but
yeah, and that's another point too, is the rest of the markets kind of have to stay steady as well. If Bitcoin and Ethereum both start tanking, then I can't really expect that to be a bottom. But again, if the way that if all the charts kind of hold up, this is looking like that would have been it, right? But if there's another event or something where Bitcoin tanks and it does go down to 65 or whatever it may be, look out.
One thing that's interesting, I'm just noticing looking at that avalanche down with your trend line there, is this low area we've been in. If you look, Ewok, everything else has kind of been a V with very short amount of time spent there on the way down. This is the first time that we've spent, I mean, what is that? The better part of at least a couple weeks anyway, in that zone for the first time since September of last year. There's not really been many periods like that, you know.
Yeah, this last one was in June. This is the last. Am I still sharing my screen? I am.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
So this is the last rounded bottom, and it did make a nice run before it ran up and hit a wall and just start falling. But yeah, this was the last one back in June into July of 25. So
Mhm.
it's mimicking that move somewhat. Again, we'll see how this plays out. It looks very very similar. You know, if you pull back and you look into this run up right here, this first green candle running off of it is looking a lot like what we're seeing right now with this green candle. So
Yeah.
yeah, it looks good. It looks promising.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll see if there's a turnaround or not in the coming weeks. But do you want to take a look real quick at the ProveX chart as well? I mean, I know we kind of do that separately because it is the shiny new toy, and also, you know, there's another reason. I mean, you know, it is the latest Richard Hart creation. We are thinking that we're probably going to get the actual product launch by the second half of this year, if not just earlier this summer. We got the ProveX token a lot earlier than many people predicted, so that is good. And of course, also we said it a moment ago, but the way this thing is liquidity bonded is also polar opposite of the rest of the ecosystem, and the fact that it's not really heavily tied to Pulse and the other core tokens. It's mainly tied to stables and a little bit of ETH. So you're on the daily chart, which now we have enough history to kind of make this make sense. I mean, even the 4 hour is probably okay too, whichever you prefer, but this is looking pretty good. You know, we had this bottoming area for what the beginning of April, basically the first week or so of April here, where we were in a bottom for ProveX, and that really was, like, for all intents and purposes, the real bottom that we've had so far since launch. Because, you know, we were of course in Buck's pool. I think our sacrifice rates right around 4 zeros and a 4. Wait, is that right? Yeah, 4 zeros and a 4. So we've really been in profit the entire time, even if only by 40% or so. And look at these moves up. I mean, this has been terrific. Like, coming off the lows here over the last couple of weeks, you just see a beautiful stair step up. Now it's sold off a little bit here, but now it looks like maybe we're catching support at this area that we've been in quite a bit already, with the 4075-ish area here. So
Yeah.
chart looks great so far. Has not been a long time, obviously, but going on about a month. But yeah, what do you make of where ProveX is at right now? And we don't have, you know, we can reset this thing again. The reason that we've been bullish on this has been the opposite, because of the sacrifice set being the opposite of PulseChain and PulseX. You had almost $1 billion sacrifice for those two things at the top of a previous bull market where everybody was trapped. This comes rising from the ashes, basically. $16.5 million was raised, puny compared to those others two. You know, even people that had supported RH calling him a scammer again. It's everything about it, you know, completely 180 degrees from the Pulse and PulseX. So that's a big reason that we've been bullish on it. And, you know, we've got Peer, which used to be the ZK P2P. We have Peer out there as a private crypto onboarding mechanism. But, you know, ProveX is not a carbon copy of that, but it is similar to it, with a token involved with a buy and burn with RH behind it. So a lot of reasons to feel bullish on it. So yeah, what do you make of this? It's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's looking, you know, not bad. It did have it's kind of stalled out a little bit. Whenever we were looking at it last week, I had mentioned that don't forget what Hex did when it made its first run up. You know, it would pull back probably anywhere between 35 and 75% on its run up. Now, again, you know, it would pull back and then it would take off and go. What did it doubled 13 times over the course of the run? So yeah, I mean, so this isn't looking quite as strong as that was. But the interest is different at this time too. You know, you have to kind of remember that there were a lot of people that were just participating daily with Hex, and I don't think that's I mean, obviously there's participation, but not to the level of what it was then. So Yeah, but again, it's found a nice. And here we talk about again a rounded bottom, and it's not just a V bottom here, and a pullback, but a little bit of a sell off. I think there maybe are some people, myself included. I wish I had gotten a little bit more back here. One of the first times that I did nibble was closer to the right at the sacrifice, because
I remember. Yeah.
I thought this was gonna pull back and then take off again. Instead, it was more of a fake out. So yeah, I did get I think a little bit more back here in the 7-ish range. But then again, I didn't buy any more at the 5 because I thought it may go a little bit lower, and sure enough, it didn't. So we're back about where I nibbled again for the second time, and holding. So I'm kind of waiting to see personally, if it does dip down. If it doesn't, I'm okay with what I have. But I would like to get a little bit more in this 6 range, maybe. I don't know that we'll hit the 5 number again, but if it does touch the 6, I would be happy to get some. I honestly think, at any level down here, if what we think is going to happen with this, I think any of these levels will probably be just a fine entry point. But you always want to kind of maximize it if you can. So yeah, no, I think it's looking good. There is some support at these different levels, and again, I would personally like to see it go a little lower, only to pick up a little bit more, for no other reason. Not that I don't think it's good, not that I don't think it's going to do just fine, but yeah, that's the only reason that I would like to see it drop just a little bit more.
Yeah, like we've been saying, I mean, this is, if anything, the one that I am most aggressively trying to gobble up right now. Nibble, gobble, bite, what all these eating words. Yeah, just because, I mean, everything we just mentioned a little bit ago, and also, of course, we have bags of everything else. You know what I mean? So you're trying to establish this a little bit beyond the sacrifice. But I really think, I mean, we've talked about this too. I mean, I think it's RH's attempt to help bootstrap the ecosystem. Was this going to happen no matter what? We've talked about that before. Yeah, I think so. I think, like, ideally it would be same as last time, same playbook. Hey, Ethereum's 10K or more. Pulse has done at least a 30x, or a 20x from sack rate or whatever, a place where, now we'd be dying for, and then he opens up a sacrifice for ProveX. Instead, the opposite happened. And I think it sets up very bullish for ProveX because, again, hardly anybody sacrificed for it. And the people who used to, be all over RH's Red Bull can are now saying he's a scammer, fuck this guy, and they're writing the essays and stuff like that. So, that tends to make me kind of more bullish on it.
Yeah, we are still sitting at $1 million in liquidity as well. So, somewhat thin. I mean, there's a fair amount for people to get out if they really want to get out. But as far as liquidity goes, $1 million isn't a whole lot. Now, this is just the ProveX USDC pair. I don't know what the other pairs have. I know they each had about 200,000 or 300,000, in the some of the other ones as well. But I think Ethereum had about 300,000. I think ProveX with DAI had about 300,000. So, but this was the main pair. So. Yeah, we're looking good. I think it's going to hold up well. Again, I am hoping for a little bit of a pullback, but if it doesn't, I'll be just fine with what I have.
Yeah, I'm good with continuing to buy in this area. This is kind of the area where it's spent, like, a lot of its history, and I mean, and keep in mind, a lot of the people who sacrifice straight to the wallet are underwater at this rate a little bit. So they've got to remember that too for our perspective. So
yep.
ProveX looking mighty fine. So if you guys are enjoying the stream, do us a favor, go ahead and hit that like button. We appreciate all of you. We do this every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're here still watching this stuff, I mean, you're as much of a goddamn psycho as we are, and we appreciate that, so we can all go crazy and be in the loony bin together. We had a speaking of essays, we had a dissertation from one Alex McWhirter just put out on Twitter the other day. He of Hedron and Icosa fame, which were launched, I want to say March of 2021 or something like that, to help with incentivize Hex long-term staking. I mean, it was all the rage, especially Icosa. I mean, like, it was something that it was tied basically to the value of the T-share. I mean, I think it was really a great creation. Hedron, you could argue that maybe it inflates too much or whatever, but I think that a couple things that he created were, he was trying to help Hex and build something on top of Hex. And he's one of the very few people that Richard has directly, if I'm not mistaken, provided kudos to because of what he's created. So we haven't heard a lot from Alex over the last couple years. And I think it's mainly just due to the market basically never coming alive, which I understand. And he's also, I think he's an introverted guy and he does stuff in the background, but that's neither here nor there. This is an extremely long post, so maybe we can pick out like just what, is relevant as we go down here. But I think he has some good thoughts here. He says that he's been working in silence in the background. We know he's been working on some things as far as a kind of index fund type portfolio thing that he's building for PulseChain, which is pretty interesting. He says a lot of X content has become toxic. I mean, we don't really need anybody to tell us that. He says, I read a lot of it. I think we like to forget a history a bit in this community that Pulse launched off the highs and the SEC swooped in right after. Very few people want to admit it, but it shook confidence immediately. I mean, no other crypto project has survived such a thing at the time, but PulseX and Hex did. However, winning doesn't unshake that confidence, and RH during and after the event took social precautions to protect himself and his creations. The thing is, the guy isn't stupid. Someone once asked me if I thought certain aspects of the launch were rushed because he knew it was coming, and honestly, maybe I'd attribute at least a non-zero possibility to it. Yada, yada. Do I still think PulseChain, Hex, ETC all have futures? Yes. RH has had the opportunity to just straight up bounce from all of this. Why hasn't he? You could point to exhibit A, B, C, D, etc. of how he's likely got the funds to do that, and we all could relatively do nothing about it. So why is he still around? I think it's pretty simple. The usual answer, he wants to win. It's in the Twitter handle, for Christ's sake. I'll go a step further and say he likely also wants us to win by extension. Arguably not as much as he wins, but I mean, that's pretty locked in at the moment. That's not to say that he hasn't long been encumbered, and in that state, a lot has gone on without him, much of which was bad. Now, here is where it goes a PDI direction, which a couple paragraphs on PDI. I found this kind of interesting, but he says, PDI guys, I pointed out from day one how building all this around a protocol in a dangerous state was a risky move, and I was right about that on multiple occasions, but does that matter now? I suppose not as much. In its current state, meaning PDI, it's seemingly no longer exploitable, no different than a meme token now, presumably, not like I have deep dove on my or on any further risks since ESM. So I guess just whale risk mainly now. He continues on PDI. Now a lot of people here are in the anti-PDI camp. Me too, for what it's worth, but I don't care as much about its negative anymore in its current state. And a lot of people are still in the PDI camp strongly. We view this as tribalism, but it's important to note that makes all of us in the PulseChain camp universally. So these days, I find myself relatively PDI neutral, he says. That's a pretty big shift for what it's worth, I think. If you guys want to send it to $1, do it. Only whales could stop you. They run out eventually. Insert super strong. This is not financial advice. Hell, you can maybe even use Sigma to help, which is his protocol that he's working on. Or maybe it won't help. I don't know. It depends on how people use the software. Conversely, when looking at the chain state overall, why is there nearly 50 million in stables sitting on the sidelines? Why not just bridge it out if you want out of what you think is a dead chain? Surely leaving it there exposes you to bridge risk. Why all these yield moves? Why the hex dusts? The hex being sent to all these accounts that we've talked about. Something is happening. People are seemingly waiting to see what that something is, or am I reading into things? Not financial advice as always. He goes on, when I look at other ecosystems, I see a level of polish we don't have. I see tooling we don't have. I see a fostered developer environment we don't have. So I've just been building it painstakingly because someone has to if we want to be taken seriously. And what I've been building has allowed me to get Sigma to where it is. Sigma is so close, really just in UI mode, performance optimization, going through nice to haves. I don't believe in launching in a non-finished immutable state. So yeah, I take my time as with everything. But my point of all this and the why Sigma question, it's unifying. Anyone can participate. Which tribe you're in doesn't matter. And if you don't like it, don't use it. It's just software you can use or not. The years of tooling work to deliver. How much do we got here? Testnet soon, it looks like, for Sigma. His kind of, again, it's, I don't know if I should call it an index fund, but it's a way that you can have, like, make a portfolio easily with. We haven't seen it, so it's hard to describe. Yeah. But you can basically make a portfolio of PulseChain ecosystem coins with what he's making. At the end, he says here, and after these frameworks I've built will be applied to what I am tentatively calling the universal hex UI, more or less something aggregative of every derivative I can reasonably support. With data and analytics we since lost, so not just hex, Hedron, ICOSA, but others as well. However, that depends on the aspect of Sigma. And last but not least, take care of yourselves and strive to do cool things. If we aren't doing cool things, then what's the point? And then he posts a picture, I think, of his user interface. So, man, he goes all over the place with this, and it was good to hear from him, I will say. I just, his feelings on the chain and everything. I come away, I mean, it sounds like he feels pretty positive about everything to me. And I know there was a lot, but what do you take out of everything Alex said here, Ewok?
Well, let's go back to the one of the first things that brought to your attention was the PDI thing. He really hops back and forth. A lot of people here are in the anti-PDI camp. Me too, for what it's worth. But then he says that he's neutral. He's neutral to anti. So he's on that side, and whatever. It doesn't matter. He brought up, I brought up something that he brought up. That's probably where I had heard it. That the fact that you can't exploit it anymore. So, one of the risks have disappeared. So that is a good thing. My concern is still the 46 billion of them that exists. And if you want to back it 1-to-1, that's a shit ton of money that's got to back it, coming from somewhere. Anyway, moving on to Sigma. So you're right. An index fund, it's very similar to what we have now with the PH stuff. There's a couple different liquidity products out there that tie a lot of things together, bond things together. Will that, I'm trying to think, will that benefit the chain or not? Will it hold it back? My fear is that everything is going to be so tied so heavily that not one thing will be able to really outperform or underperform anything else. It could be good if enough capital comes in, and he does say and mention that there's $50 million in stable coins sitting on the sidelines. I think 50 million is what he said. Yeah, there's 50 million in stables just sitting there. I actually think there's more than that. So why wouldn't they sit in the stable pool at least? Maybe, there's that too. I think there's other stuff that's just sitting there, not doing anything, not invested anywhere. So, again, I like the idea. I like Alex. Alex is one of those very, very intelligent guys who put a lot of thought into what he does and with a lot of intentionality. I think one of the only things Richard did at one point kind of criticize was the fact that he wasn't completely sold on tokenized T-shares, right? He wanted people to lock it up and be locked up, not really have a way out. For many reasons. Number one is it keeps people around, it keeps them active. When you're locked in and you do what you say what you do, and you do what you say, it makes a big difference than when there's an option to just say, you know what, I don't like this today, I'm going to sell. That was, I think, one of his main criticisms of the HSIs, the tokenized staking mechanism that was created. So anyway, this will be interesting. I'm curious to see what kind of benefits that it has, other than, like I said, making everything so tied together, that the protocol just kind of moves, everything just kind of creeps all at the same. Again, there's nothing that will take off on its own, which I think there's some excitement level to that. When you have people jumping in and out of other things because they think they know what they're doing, and they usually end up getting chopped up. That's how the systems usually work. And you may not have that now. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn between, knowing again that he's intelligent and he knows what or he's again very thoughtful, intentional on the things that he designs. I'm just not sure that it'll have a fully positive outcome on the chain. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, as far as you mean, like mainly with the Sigma portion of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the bonding thing, but I definitely think that creating a product like that is something. We talk a lot about onboarding, advertising, marketing, things like that. And again, I don't know what it's going to look like in its final form. I know we shared the user interface there, but I think if you are creating simple to use like funds in which you could say, you know what, I want Pulse Hex and Pulse X, and you're telling me there's 2 hexes and stuff like that. Just how should I invest in this stuff? You know what I mean? Like, do I do 33% of each? What should I do? I think it's cool to have, you look at like the stock market and stuff like that. And I know Vanguard, I imagine Fidelity and Schwab and stuff like that do it. But if you want to, instead of saying, look, I just want 2 index funds that are cheap, give me like the US stock market, the international stock market, and let me be on my way. Some people don't understand what the hell an index fund even is, or don't want to understand any of that. And it's like, give me that target retirement fund for 2055 or whatever. You know what I mean? So they want to choose, I'm retiring at this age. I don't know what the hell this stuff means. Let me just pick it. You and I and most people watching are wanting to be in the weeds and, get more detailed and get more granular and stuff like that. And I don't know. I think products like this, I don't know if you remember this, Ewok, and I don't want to get way off on a sidetrack here, but way back in the day, this is like 2017 cycle. I remember you telling me about, and I'm sure it's totally, I'm sure they've all totally quit on this project now. It's so long ago. But there was something called co-vesting. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Okay. But they were trying to do essentially this, like for, an altcoin index of some sort. I don't know where that ever went, how far they went with it. I mean, everything was the Wild West back then, but they were trying to essentially create like, okay, somebody coming into this, I want to get Monero, I want to get Dash, I want to get all these things. They don't know what they're doing. I want IOTA, like all these things that are, now dead basically.
Yeah.
But there have been attempts at this kind of thing before, and I don't know. I think it's a good idea. I don't know what it'll mean for liquidity and stuff like that necessarily, but I think that I think it's interesting for onboarding people.
So you're sparking a memory here, and that actually isn't what co-vesting was. Co-vesting was a mirror trading platform where you would put money in and then pick who one of the top ranked traders was, and it would mirror their moves. So everything that they did, it would do on your behalf at the percentage of what you had your portfolio set at, right? So if 10% of theirs made a move, 10% of yours would make a move. It was a mirrored trading platform where, again, they would have several contests to see who did the best, to get a ranking, and then you would pick who you wanted to follow, and for them picking, or for me picking them, they would get a little bit of the profits, if there were any. So that's what that was. And yes,
I'm sorry. I just guess the reason that ticked off in my mind is because it is kind of mimicking what another trader is doing or something. I guess that's what. Yeah.
Yes, but in a different. It was more of a live. When they made a move, yours also made the same move. So But yes, with an index fund, they're gathering and getting bits and pieces of things. You just buy one stock, that stock essentially holds a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit,
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of similar, but a little bit different. But yeah, I remember the co-vesting. In fact, I think I still have co-vesting tokens somewhere.
Good luck selling it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by it though. I'm excited to see Alex come back. I'm imagining he's waiting till it's done. First off, Paramount, but also I think he wants the market to actually be doing something like we all do. So I definitely get that.
So one of the things that I believe I saw somewhere where he had mentioned that if you had a Watsa, do you know what the Watsas are? It's
An
the
NFT or something. I don't remember.
it wasn't NFT. It was a kind of a last man standing type thing, right? We are, what does it stand for? We are all Satoshi, or shoot, what did it stand for? I forget what it was, but anyway, they were basically, you made a 15-year, a 5 hex tokenized stake, and basically put it in the pool. And then the last man standing, or they would cash it in for ICOSA, whatever it was. I forget how it even completely worked. I got a couple of them somewhere. But if you have Watsa in your wallet, you're able to claim some of the Sigma. And I forget what the percentage, does it say on this thing?
Fishcracker says we are all the SA.
We are all the SA.
I don't know. I remember what you're talking about though.
Yeah. But anyway, some of the Sigma tokens, you'll be able to, if you have Watsas in your wallet, you will be able to claim some free Sigma. I believe that he said it somewhere in here, but I didn't see it. Where's it? But he said something about trying it on testnet once it's released, to go to testnet and claim some of them. So it'll be interesting. You'll be able to stake them as well from what it looks like, and then you get rewards from it too. So it's going to be interesting. Again, I wish I could find where he mentioned that whole Watsa thing, but
maybe it was in, I don't know, I didn't see that. Maybe it was in a different post or something, but
yeah. Well,
this is
go ahead. I'll look to see if I can.
Okay. All right. We'll see. Really, I mean, was there anything else you wanted to get to tonight, Ewok? Because I think that was the other real big thing we just wanted to cover.
Yeah, actually, it'll be a quick thing here. Let's
go ahead.
Go to our airdrop status here of the Hex token, to see that we are at 8.157 million holders now in Hex. Pretty cool. I mean, somebody's been doing this. Like, if you look at April 1st, there were 3.639 million holders on April 1st. So in 15 days, we've gone from 3.6 to 8.1. What is that? Like 4.5 million hex have been distributed across all Ethereum addresses. Pretty crazy. Again, I think it's a great thing because it's programmed, right? So when they pull up their wallet, they're going to see this token. It's not like it's something that they have to add, or custom token or anything like that. It's a pre-programmed token, which again they're going to see. So there's going to be a lot of eyes on this. If and when this thing starts to move, there's going to be some excitement. I think this is a pretty cool way of getting eyes on it. So again, just wanted to provide an update. Nothing major, nothing crazy, but yeah, we're at 8.1 million holders now. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it is very cool. Whoever it is that is doing that, but yeah, as a another marketing ploy to get
Yeah,
people's eyes on it and stuff like that. I think it's definitely good. You see those tokens in your wallet, especially with the better these EVM wallets get and stuff like that. If
yeah,
MetaMask improves things, and then there's other ones being built. To have the token actually show in there, because we know with
yeah.
MetaMask, I mean, depending upon the chain you're on, you never know if you can see any tokens really. So,
Right.
yeah, awesome. Well, good to see that Hex adoption growing. So, too bad we can't have somebody go in and somehow stake that one Hex for 525 as well.
Well, then they wouldn't see it. So that
Well,
would
true.
be a big difference, because it would disappear from their wallet, and the only way they would see is if they went to one of the protocols, go.hex or whatever, and yeah. So I mean, to get the visibility, you want to do it this way.
Yeah,
but that would be funny.
Yeah, Hex Girl, I cannot agree more. We need excitement in crypto. Yeah,
For sure.
Really the mind share right now, and I know people have said this as like the reason that retail didn't come. I definitely do not believe that, but the attention's gone to like AI recently and stuff like that. But it's not as if it still doesn't change the fact that people are not flush with cash. Like there's all these people that have said, yeah, crypto, people are skipping it. They're into AI stocks and stuff like that now. They're into the other thing I keep hearing people say, they're into the prediction markets. Like instead of meme coins, why would I do that when I can bet on the color of JD Vance's tie or something? I get that. I get how you could put that narrative out there kind of and think that those things are similar. But I mean, it still comes down to people not having money. I mean, people were still betting on sports in droves during the last bull market. So, I don't really buy that.
Well, people need that hit. You know what I mean? They need that excitement and instant gratification of the Kalshis and the, what's the other one? I forget what they are, but there's a couple of platforms out there now where you can just bet on anything. They need that dopamine, and unfortunately, you see that the people that are kind of leaving are not the long-minded mentality people that we really need for crypto to be successful. There are going to be your lottery winner type that expect to buy something and have it go up next week and get out and make a fortune. But as we see and now know that's not how it works. There's a lot of in order to be successful in crypto, you've got to go through all the stages, and some of those stages are just brutal. And that's kind of where we're hopefully coming out of now. But yeah, people need the dopamine, more immediate fix, and I think that's why once they play themselves out, people may come back. Once I think they'll run their course, just like any kind of hot thing, and they'll realize that, man, they'll look back and say, well, I just lost a couple grand, several grand. This probably isn't the best way to do this.
Well, I think it's a chicken and an egg thing too, because like Kalshi and the prediction markets and AI, like that's what's already been hot. So that's what people are going to gravitate to. The other thing is with Kalshi, I don't have an account, but I imagine that you can bet $10 on stuff. I mean, you're not even in this day and age in crypto, like it's probably going to take you more than $10 to like win something really big or pick the right meme or something like that. It's also more complicated. Like, getting on Kalshi, I imagine, is very similar to getting on any betting site. You know what I mean? Whereas, getting into crypto, you have to understand the wallet and stuff. But these things start going up again, they'll figure it out again. And I think they come back. So, whatever. What they buy, I don't know. But, we'll leave it up to that. So, cool.
For sure.
Well, hey, this has been a good show. We appreciate everybody in the chat tonight. Just Live, Hex Girl, Fish Cracker, Tam, thank you for being here. Michael Lamont, we've got Valiant Low Key, of course, the Mr. Max, Destroyer, Checks My Pulse, V, Moon Mutt, I love that, Crypto Mike, and a lot more. So we really appreciate all of you being here. Just pushing on as this, whatever market it is we're in. We're not going anywhere, and waiting to see things to turn around and observing them along here with you. So we do this every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for Crypto Ewok, this has been Banana Boy Crypto. We'll catch you here next week right here on The Creed. of crypto. We'll see you guys.
See you guys.